Om Niranjanam Nityam Anantarupam Bhaktanukampa Dhrita Vigraham Vai Ishavataram Parameshamidyam Tam Ram Krishnam Shirsha Namah. Namaste everyone and welcome to our study of the chapter 13 of the Bhagavad Gita, Ch13 Vibhaga Yoga. We have over the last 2 or 3 classes have had an overview of the verses, and now we are trying to go deep. We started with the first verse, and in which Sri Krishna is introducing the subject matter, and he says, look, idam shariram, this body, O Kaunteya. Arjuna's name is son of Kunti, is Kaunteya. Kshetram ityabhidhiyate, it's called the field. And of course, later on we'll see when he says the body, uses the body, does not mean the physical body only. It means the mental and the causal body. The Sula Sharira, Sukshma Sharira, and Karan Sharira. When the details are elaborated, you will understand that it means much more than. And there is another aspect of another entity in this body who is the knower of that field. And that entity is called Kshetrajna. Now, Jna means to know. The knower of the field is called Kshetrajna. And those who have understood, dive deep into the entity called a human being and explored there, they have come to this conclusion or to this realization that there are two entities. So that sets up the outline, of the topic, the chapter. And there's not much to discuss, but I did mention that you would want to maybe try to create a pictorial or diagrammatic representation of this, even if there are two ideas there, and build on that. I was trying to connect my iPad so that I could do some sketches and show it to you, but it keeps on disconnecting, some issues there. So let me see, maybe the next week we'll have that sorted out. Today, let's go to the next verse, 13.2. Kshetrajna cha api. Cha means and, api means also. Mam vidhi, know, vidhi means to know. Who? Me, mam. Sarva Kshetreshu Bharata. So it's not only that the Kshetrajna, each body has got on its own Kshetrajna. No, there is one Kshetrajna who is in all bodies. Sarva means all, Kshetreshu, in all bodies. Bharata, Arjuna's another name is Bharata. Kshetra Kshetrajnayor Jnanam Yattat Jnanam Matam Mama. So this is my opinion. Sri Krishna gives divine opinion as the knower of the highest truth. He says, that is the real knowledge wherein we have this discrimination or the ability to separate or decouple the Kshetra and the Kshetrajna. In ignorance, the two are mixed up. Sometimes we use the word Purusha for Kshetrajna as the conscious principle, and Kshetrajna is the Prakriti. So everything is a mixture of Purusha and Prakriti in this embodied state. In the state of ignorance, we are not able to discern the difference between the two. We say everything is together. And since we've been studying Kashmir Shaivism, you'll find that that understanding knowledge will begin to apply here. So in the beginning, everything is Shiva and Shakti, but they are indistinct. There's no externalities there. Everything is one. In the 4th, 5th, and 6th tattvas, Sadashiva, Ishvara, and Sadvidya. Then Maya comes. Maya is the differentiating power. That's where the aham in idam, I in this. Aham means I am, and anything that's outside me is idam. So like this is a table, this is this particular person. That means it's not me, but it's other than me. So in the superset, I'm one entity and what's outside me is idam. So this aham idam relationship begins to develop. And that is what Maya does. It brings about duality, it brings about differentiation, it brings the differentiation becomes more and more gross until it comes down to this body level. And as it descends to greater and greater degrees of materiality, if you want to use that word, then what happens? The consciousness becomes less and less and less, and we feel and experience the material world more and more and more until almost the intelligence and the consciousness is so much covered that we think that we are a physical being, totally. So this is how the Ch13 part becomes more and more covered, and spiritual life is reversing that process, discovery, removing the coverings, so to say. So that is this theme on this. And Sri Krishna is sort of defining, okay, I'm giving my conclusion right up front that by the end of this chapter, or what we want, what I'm trying to teach you in the Bhagavad Gita, or what is the goal of human life, is to come to this true knowledge where we have been able to understand that we are consciousness alone and we have nothing to do with Prakriti, nature, the Kshetra. So the translation is, O Arjuna, understand me to be the knower of the field, in all the fields, not in just your own body. And if all these little ideas, if you think deeply, then, and you say, how do I apply that in applied spirituality? Then look, if I think I'm the only being, only conscious being pertaining to this body, then my job is to take care of this physical body, dress it, feed it, take care of it, protect it. But really, according to this highest teaching, if the right knowledge is there, then the same being dwells in all bodies. Therefore, I am present in all bodies, really. And so, the more I expand myself beyond this limitation, this I and mine, this is what will be called selfishness. Expansion is life, contraction is death, like Swami Vivekananda says. He says, unselfishness is God. So this is where the whole teaching comes from, that your identification expands. You start with your own self, then you said, okay, all the family members are my own, so if something happens to them, good, I rejoice, suffering, I feel the pain also. Then it expands to the extended family. And whichever group we are associated and identified with, my people of my country, like, the Ukraine war is going. So if anything happens to my countrymen, it hurts me and I feel the pain also. But the more this expansion happens and it embraces the whole world of humanity, not only humanity, all beings, plants, animals, everything, because I am the all-pervading spirit behind all the forms. In other words, I am the ocean behind all the waves, and it is my water out of the ocean, which really is contained in every wave. So that would be the general direction of proceeding in spiritual life. How we can actually, initially with the understanding of the scriptures, expand our conception of who we are and where we are. In ignorance, we think I and mine. Sri Ramakrishna says, Ami Amar Ei Maya. The more we are bound to this little body, and this is me only, and therefore, if I'm happy, I'm healthy, and I'm comfortable, that's it. Amar means this few things, people, house, and we are just, we bind ourselves in that cocoon like a silkworm, and we die there in that ignorance, thinking that everything's all right. But true knowledge, which is the goal of spiritual life, is to let the heart expand, let the knowledge expand, let my identification expand with, so that it embraces the whole world is mine. And that is really the direction of sadhana that will take place. So Sri Krishna says, look, if you just think yourself as the body, then we are in great darkness, ignorance. First, acknowledge there's a conscious entity inside us, which is different from this body. And then he says, should not be just within that body. Know that the knower of the field is in all the fields. And then he adds another thing, understand me to be the knower. That means that entity is not the one that me in which we call our me with this body is really not the right me. That is a small me. But there's a cosmic I sense, which is the Ishvara sense, the divine being. And so when Sri Krishna says, I am, then he is saying, I'm looking from the perspective of the ocean. When we say we are Mr. X, Y, and Z, or this personality, this individuality, then we are that small me, this little body. And how we transcend this limited state and regain our oceanhood. That is the whole goal of spiritual life. So Sri Krishna says, understand me to be the knower of the field in all the fields. As we understand this, you'll have to look back and say, how do these teachings transform your conception of yourself? If nothing is changing, that means we are not assimilating that knowledge. But if you dwell on this teaching, say, all this time in ignorance, and we have been conditioned many lifetimes and in this lifetime just to associate with one body, but we recognize that is an ignorant state. And I have to bring in the light of knowledge, jnana, the light of knowledge, jnana, agni, or fire of knowledge, to burn this ignorance of duality or manifoldness. Because the truth is the ocean, the waves appear and disappear. I want to be one with that ocean. That is called Brahma Jnana, Ishwar, Bhagwan, Love, Nirvana, and all those types of things. So he says, in my opinion, that is knowledge, which is the knowledge of the field and the knower of the field. Means this vibhaga, I should be able to separate that. And I explained, a person who has been able to do that is called a realized soul, called a Brahma Jnani. And in the traditional Indian, in the spiritual teachers, they will give a title to such a person called a Paramhamsa, who has been able to separate the material Prakriti part of it from the consciousness, just like a swan, Hamsa is able to separate milk from water. So it's pretty straightforward, but you can see as we look at the small words like sarva, Ch13, then you have to reflect and say, what is the new perspective I'm developing? How is my the spiritual knowledge lets me see the world in a more enlightened way, and how we are going to apply it. So this becomes sort of the genesis and the core of most of this yama and niyama, the moral and ethics. So all of them will teach, be unselfish, be kind, be compassionate, do not hurt, ahimsa, and all those things are there. And so why are they telling all these things? Because these are the means by which our understanding and our relationship and our identification rather expands to embrace the whole world. And when I'm hurting somebody out there, really I'm hurting myself, and I'm punishing myself, going into the deeper ignorance. Really, that is the worst thing that I can do for myself. So I should not hurt somebody because I'm hurting for myself only. So those are the basis of which morality and ethics are taught. The yama and niyama and the 10 commandments are there. Do this and don't do these things. All right, so let us go to the third verse. Then he says, Tat Ch13, or let's say, hear from me in brief about all that is to be, what the field is. So just like in a modern university class, in the beginning of the chapter or lesson, the teachers will say, in this lesson, you will learn this. So keep an eye on this, that these are the ideas, what is to be anticipated. Likewise, here Sri Krishna is saying, okay, now on, we will discuss certain things. So it's just giving a brief outline. And what are this? What the field is, how is it, means what is it contained of, consists of, what are its changes, yad vikaram, and from where is it coming from what causes does it arise, what effects come, and who he is, the Purusha, the Kshatrajna, and what his powers are there. So basically it gives a bit of a summary. Tat Ch13, yat cha, whatever it is, yadrik cha. So here, shrunu, from me, samasena, in brief, that, that means the true nature of the field and the nature of the knower of the field, as to yet means what it is, what that Kshetra is, Cha means end, Yadrik means how it is along with its own qualities, Cha also means the end, Yad Vikari, what are its changes? Vikara means change. And Yatha means from what causes does it arise? Yatha. Yat, what its effects are. Sacha, Ya, Ya means and who he is, the knower of the field, and Yat Prabhava, what his powers are there. So this bit of Sanskrit words are there, but if you just read a few times, you'll get expand your Sanskrit vocabulary a bit more also. So this is basically the summary of what is to be anticipated here. There's not much to go into that. And then he gives a little bit to generate a little bit of interest in the subject matter. It's not some ordinary thing we're talking about. These are profound discoveries of the great rishis who practiced intense austerities to purify their own mind and heart and dive deep into the nature of their own self and the nature of the world. And they discovered something very profound. And that knowledge they also shared through various means. So basically saying, look, I'm not talking and telling you some ordinary thing. I'm going to teach you something very, very profound. So here he says, to generate more interest, the Lord praises the true nature of the field and the knower of the field, which is intended to be taught here. Rishibhi Bahuda Gita. Rishibhi means the Vedic rishis. Bahuda, many of them, in various ways. In Gita, they have sung this out. So the Gita itself is a song. Gita means that which has been sung by Shri Krishna here. So it has been sung or spoken of Bahuda in various ways, because there are people of different temperaments. Some are devotees, some are intellectual, pursue the path of knowledge, people of action there. There are some in primary schools, some in secondary schools, some universities. So the same subject matter has to be put in different ways to suit the taste and temperaments and the stages of spiritual development of various people. The sages knew this, so they catered to all the needs. Bahuda in various ways, Gita. Rishibhi, wise sages. Rishi, and the English translation is, or the other word is mantra drastas, seers of subtle truths, the composers of the Vedas. And I have said, it doesn't mean the books, the four Vedas. Vedas, according to Swami Vivekananda, he says, are the sum total of all the spiritual truths. So there is the truth about the physical world, there is this truth about the mental world, and then there's a spiritual world, even finer than that, gross, subtle, kosher. And they experience certain things in that when the mind ascended to those higher planes of consciousness, and they try to capture those ideas, those experiences in various verses and or various ways, and that is really what is contained in the Vedas. So the sum total of spiritual truths. And how many of them did it? Is that just one person who realized and then he said, okay, this is the scripture and everyone should follow, and you just have to have faith in me, and it's not that something you should experience because I'm the only chosen one type of thing as in some other religions? No, our religion and the Vedic religion is very, very universal. It's like a modern day science. Every scientist is challenged to go and do the experiments, discover something and add to the whole fund of knowledge. So the Vedas are not really composed by any one individual. There's so many. It's a composition or compilation. Vyas, by the time he composed it, all these experiments had completed. People had shared the experiences. He did the summary composition, and those books are called the Vedas. But Vedas really mean the spiritual truths, the subtle truths, mantra drastas. Drashta means to see not through the physical eye, not through the eye of understanding, like we say, I understand, I see. When you understand, you use that word. It is to experience with this subtle perception. Sukshma darshi bhi. Sukshma means subtle. Darshi means seer. Seer of subtle truths. That's how later on in this chapter itself, Sri Krishna talks about that capacity that we need to develop through sadhana. So these Vedic rishis, many of them came to the same conclusion. What was the conclusion? Very simple. The reality behind the whole universe is a spiritual entity, limitless, nameless, and formless. They use the word Brahman. And they say it is beyond the ordinary mind which functions through our everyday thinking and beyond the senses. But the same mind can be purified and refined and made very subtle, that it will be able to merge into that reality and experience its oneness with it. And if it comes back, it will be able to give some hint about that reality. What is the hint? Okay, to put it in a very simple language as much as possible, they says, all we can say it as an approximate definition, not as the perfect definition. Approximate definition, it's Akhand Sat Chit Ananda, infinite existence, infinite knowledge, infinite bliss. So that terminology is used about the divine, both of the universe and the divine inside themselves, okay, as the Pratyagatman or the inner self. And they also say, another place in the Vedas, they say, Asti Bhati Priyam. It is existence, Asti. Bhati means it is of the nature of the illuminator. It shines, self-effulgent. It doesn't need something else to illuminate it. Like, house, take a torch to show something in the dark. That means some external source of light is necessary to illuminate. The moon requires the sun's light to be illuminated, but the sun is self-luminous. So that's why sun is a very good symbol of that supreme being. That's why we pray to them as a symbol of that illuminator. So Asti, Bhati, and Priyam. Priyam means it's adorable. Wherever you feel some attraction, some love, some affection to which your heart resonates with, whether it's to be with some person, your house, your car, your cat, whatever. So that is adorable. You feel very good. There's a sense of joy, what we say, the love for it. Really, the source is this divine that resides in those objects. And that inner Bhati, Priyam aspect of it shines through the different layers of the personality of that person, and he behaves in such a way and says, he's so wonderful, so nice person, I love to be in his company, or that it is attractive not in its own nature, not because of the Kshetra, but because of the Kshetrajna that is inside there. So this is how these rishis came to that wonderful realization, and then the whole outlook to the world changed. And they saw the world is only some names and forms. But behind these names and forms is this wonderful entity. That entity appears to be divided, but is not divided. It is one, but it appears to be many. It is unlimited, but this nature, the Prakriti has covered it, and it creates a confusion in the ignorant, where we are not so much aware of that conscious entity, but we are conscious more about the external names and forms regarding our own self and regarding the world outside. And this state is called ignorance. And so what Sri Krishna is trying to tell, hey, the true knowledge is where you have been able to experience the one behind the many. So Rishibhi Bahuda Gitam, it has been sung of in various ways by the rishis, the sages, and Chandobhi Vividhe Prathak. And Prathak means separately, Vividha by different kinds. Chandas are where these meters. So you see, the verses are composed in a particular rhythm, rhyming. And these are the Vedic meters. And one of them is called the Chandas. So in the Vedic text, it has been expressed in these so many ways. And he says, Hetu Madhi, by the rational, Vinishchite, Nishchita. Nishchit means, you have come to a very solid conclusion. This is my. Vinishchita means extremely solid and final conclusion. They have realized that. So these are also, these truths are also expressed in a book called Brahma Sutra. So there are three scriptures, three sources of our spiritual knowledge in the Hindu tradition. These are called Prasthana Trayas. What are they? The Upanishads, which are the end parts of all the culminating part of the Vedas, the four Vedas. The Bhagavad Gita, which is from the Mahabharata. And there is another composition called Brahma Sutras. Sutra means again thread, sentences, which talk about Brahman. And this is a particular book. And every great teacher who wants to propound a new philosophy or teaching will have to go to these three source books and say, write a commentary and say, okay, I have got a new way of presentation. So whether it was Acharya Shankara or Ramanuja, Acharya Shankara was the Advaitic teacher, Ramanuja was the Vishishta Advaitic teacher, Madhvacharya was the Advaitic teacher. All of them went to these three books and wrote their own perspective, interpretation, and they became the three philosophies of Dvaita, Vishishta Advaita, and Advaita. So, and if somebody wants to know about Hinduism, then you don't go to the Puranas. Puranas were story types of things in a diluted form told, but the original sources, if there's any confusion, you want to have the validation, you have to go to these three sources. And if the three sources agree with that, because these three sources contain the whole the gist of so many great rishis and seers and incarnations, and therefore they are the ultimate authority on the truths. And if any teaching, any philosophy in the modern day, some guru comes there and he's propounding his wonderful philosophy, like it is happening so much now, and they say, I'm a self-realized soul, then in our spiritual tradition, we will say, okay, whatever you have got to say, like today some modern scientist comes and says, I have realized some wonderful thing, this made a discovery. Then the whole scientific community will say, okay, share that with us, write a paper, and we will see how does it tally with the rest of the scientific knowledge. And if it tallies well nicely, then you say, hey, we accept it. But if it doesn't tally, then people say, you go do some more work. You're not on the right track. So in the same way, in our spiritual truths, all new knowledge or new discoveries or new realizations by any guru, when they come, we always go back to the source and say, does it tally? Because there the principles have been delineated once and for all. Not by one person, but many, many persons. So I mentioned this because in the Sanatana Dharma, our great teachers are not only one person. Over many, many generations and centuries and decades, millennium, they have been repeatedly verifying those same truths. Unlike some other religions where it is named after one person, whatever he realized and he said, that is like taken, and there's no way to challenge that. You just have to believe it. So, and that's why this very universal scientific rational approach is there in our teachings here. So it has been sung in various ways by the rishis, separately by the various kinds of Vedic texts, and also by the rational and convincing sentences themselves, Brahma Sutras. The Brahma Sutras are very, very logical and rational. If you want some rational explanation and you want to dive deep through the intellect, then the Brahma Sutras are the scriptures to study there, if somebody wants to go down that path. And this ultimately what's the goal? Which are indicative of indeed Brahman. That's why I call Brahma Sutras. So basically he says, hey, look, guys, whatever I'm going to share with you is something very, very profound. And it has been discussed in various ways in all the scriptures. But I'm going to make it very simple for you in very simple way. I'm going to give that same teaching here in this chapter or in the Bhagavad Gita. So Swami Vivekananda says somewhere, the Gita is wonderful. It is like a beautiful flower bouquet. The beautiful principles that are scattered all over the Vedic texts and Vedas, Sri Krishna has collected them all and made that into a beautiful flower vase. And the essence, the most beautiful teachings are all beautifully arranged in here. So if you do not know Sanskrit, or you don't have time or access to the Vedas, don't worry. The essence is given here. And if you can study the Gita again and again, meditate on it and put into practice, that's enough. Sri Krishna even goes further. He says, I'll tell you even simple. And there are so many 700 verses in the Bhagavad Gita. You do not know Sanskrit and all those commentary and bhashas that are necessary. But I'll tell you in very simple language. The essence of the Bhagavad Gita is what you get by repeating the word Gita 10 times. So it's a Gita, 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 Gita. And eventually the word turns around and says Tagi, means renunciation. The essence of the whole is, oh man, renounce your attachment to this body and mind in this world. Dive deep inside and behind all these names and forms and discover that you are one with that supreme being. And that is the purpose of life. That is the theme of the Bhagavad Gita and all the scriptures. Okay, so verse 13:4 we finish. Let us look at 13:5. Now, from 13:5, we are getting into the delineation, detailing of the Kshetra, the field. And I think from 13:5 to 13:10, or 5 verses or so. So we'll go through this, and if you are going to do a drawing, then you will say, okay, there is one section, one entity would be called Kshetra, the field, and start listing these various entities, descriptions, components that are there, and then maybe try to rearrange and put them into subgroups. These are very gross ones, these are the mental ones, these are the finer ones, and arrange them in the degree of subtlety and all that. But let's have a look at what these verses say. Mahabhutani, the great elements, what are they? Tanmatras of earth, water, fire, air, and space. So our Vedic way of categorizing this world that we experience of matter are in 5 categories, unlike the periodic table of the modern day chemistry. They've got so many elements in there. And so in Sanskrit, Shiti, Ap, Tej, Marut, Vyam. Shiti means earth, Apa means water, Teja, fire, Marut is air, and Vyam means space. So these are the great elements. Then comes ego, ahankara, which is the source of the 5 great elements. So when we're reading the Bhaktabhinya Hridayam, we had this type of a description there also. Here we're starting from the lowest ones and going upwards from the grossest to the subtle. So these 5 tanmatras are there. And where did they come from? They come from this ahankara, the ego. Then is the buddhi. Buddhi is the finer or the higher faculty in all of us. It is the intellect, it's the power of discrimination, and that is the source of egotism. So when you say source, then means source, cause and effect type of relationship. So if the effect is ice, then its cause is water. If the effect is water, then its cause is water vapor. That means it has come from something. So here the tanmatras came out of the ahankara evolved out of buddhi. And as we go higher, it becomes finer and subtler is the word. It's more and more refined. Just like ice has got a form, you can hold it, you can feel it, but water, you can't hold it in that way, it's subtler than that. And when it becomes water vapor, you can't even see it, even though it's there. It goes beyond the senses, beyond the grasp of the organs of action also. So, Mahabhutani, Ahankara, Buddhi, Avyaktam Evacha. Avyakta means the unmanifest. So, unmanifest is the Prakriti. which is made of the three gunas, sattva, rajas, and tamas. So in Prakriti, it is so fine. That's the Prakriti means unmanifest. It also means that which is in time becomes more and more differentiated. So it's undifferentiated there, but it becomes Prakriti, and Vikriti becomes differentiated. So Mahabhutani ahankaro buddhi avyaktameva cha indriyani dasaikam cha pancha cha indriya gocharaha. So indriyani dasaikam cha. Indriyas means the senses. What are they? Dasaikam, 10 plus 1. So what are these 10 plus 1, 11 indriyas? We have got 11 indriyas. The 11 organs are 5 organs of knowledge. Okay. And what are they? The eyes of seeing, of hearing, of smelling, of touching, and tasting. These are called the Pancha Indriyas, Jnana Indriyas. And then 5 actions, organs of action. Pancha Karma Indriyas. Action means karma. So these are the organs of speech, hands, feet, excretion, and reproduction. So 5 plus 5 plus 10. And the mind is also considered to be an organ. Indriya. So 5 plus 5 plus 1 does ekam 11. All right. So how many we've got so far? 11 of these indriyas plus 5 tanmatras. So that has become 16. And then we had buddhi, and we have prakriti, and we have the ahankara. So in this way, it all adds up. And these are the 24 categories of the Sankhya philosophy. And the Pancha Indriya Gochara. So that was 19 plus Indriya Gochara means the objects of the senses. This means the gross objects out there. So what we see physically, these are the Mahabhutas, the objects that we are experiencing outside. So Indriya Gochara. Gochara means where the Indriyas are going. Go, the word comes from that which moves. The cow is called go because she is moving around. That's how the Sanskrit origin is out, she's moving out. So where the Indriyas go, chara means it's moving. Chal raha hai, moving into that area. So those things that attract our senses outside. So something beautiful, the eyes go and see. Some nice sound, the ears go out there, in this way. And all this end up to what is called a total number of 24. And these are the 24 categories according to the Sankhya philosophy. Relative to, so you see the Sankhya categories are included in the 36 tattvas of the Kashmir Jaivism or the Trika philosophy. So these are all of this, right from Prakriti to the external manifested world. That means the gross body, the subtle body of the mental space, where mind and buddhi and all the things, and the causal from the source out of which it has come, the avyakt, the Prakriti. All these are classified under one category set, which is called Kshetra, the field. So the 5 basic elements, egotism, intellect, and the unmanifest itself, the 10 organs in the mind, and the 5 objects of the senses. In one verse, he has listed all of them here. These form the 24 cosmic principles of the Sankhya philosophy. There are many philosophies in the just like we've got different streams of science like chemistry and biology and physics approaching the same truth from different directions. So we have got Sankhya philosophy, Mimamsa, Trika, other philosophies are there where they're approaching the same thing, but having their own terminology and description and all that. So if you are going to describe this and represent this in your drawing here, then you probably will have some picture in which you will list all these things, but probably not just put them in every random way. We say, okay, let's make a category where And the grossest ones are at the bottom, which are the 5 Indriya Gochara. Then, organs of action, because we can see these are organs of knowledge, Pancha, Karmendriyas, Jnanendriyas. Up to there, we can see them. Then goes into the subtle field where the manas, the mind, the buddhi, the ahankara come. So that will become the subtle body. Actually, this subtle body is made out of the tanmatras, okay, Mahabhutani, these 5 tanmatras, so the subtle parts, plus these 3, buddhi, manas, and ahankara. These 8 in Trika philosophy are called Puryastaka in Kashmir shapes. Puri means the city. Astaka means 8. A city with 8 gates, 8 elements that is used to construct. So that is talking about the subtle body. The gross body is the physical body plus where the 5 indriyas of action, karmendriya and jnanendriya are there. So this is the gross body, sthula sharira. When we die, this decomposes. But the subtle body, the puryastaka, or the sukshma sharira, that does not die when we die, when the physical body dies. It remains. And again, it contains within itself the desires and the vasanas and knowledge and all those things. And if the tendency was that I should again experience this material world, then it will cause you to be reborn, and the cycle goes in there. So that little bit of a comparison. Puryastaka means the subtle body means ahamkara, buddhi, manas, and the 5 tanmatras and the gross body. So when you compose the drawing, I wish my iPad was working, but you carry on, I'll give you an idea what's done. So you can say, let's say, draw a rectangle and say, this is the Purusha, the Ch13, is all pervading, full of light, no differentiation is there. And on top of that is the second entity, which I will denote like a triangle. So you draw a diagonal from top to bottom and say, this is the Kshetra. Behind is the Kshetrajna. Because they have to come together, so you have to show some overlapping. And then out of what we have discussed here, you detail a little bit more and say the Kshetra is now made of the material. These 24 categories you put in the triangle itself. Okay. So then it's not only just these 24 categories. There are this, it's not just matter, but it has got qualities also. And so verse 6 says, Ichha dvesha sukham dukkham sanghata chetana dhriti etam kshetram samasena savikara mudahitam. So Ichha is a desire that we have. So when we are doing the Kashmir Shaivism, you remember these 3 powers at the pure level of Shiva, Sadashiva, Ishvara, and Sadvidya. These have these powers called Iksha, Jnana, and Kriya at the top level, which when it comes under Maya, it becomes Sattva, Rajas, and Tamas. Okay, the 3 gunas. So these powers are there, and that power, Iksha, is that willpower, no desire. I want to have this. Normally it is to do with an external thing. Having experienced an object which has given him a feeling of pleasure earlier, a man wants to have it again under the idea that it is the source of pleasure. Okay, so this is the ignorant state if it is directed inwards, outwards, towards a material thing. So desirelessness is the path of realization, not having more and more desires. Nirvasana. In the Buddhism and Buddhic teachings also they say, this desire is the cause that keeps on dragging the mind, because we are under the experience that these objects out there, the sense objects, are a source of great knowledge, beauty or joy, whatever they're seeking, not knowing that the Purusha, the Kshetrajna, the Atman is the source actually, and we are seeing the reflection and running after the reflection in the material world. So Ichcha, this Dvesha. Well, Dvesha is repulsion. Certain things give you pleasure, and certain things, have the opposite effect. You feel repulsed by them, repulsive. So those things are called Dvesha. These are actually, you see, if you think, where is it happening? Is it a physical thing? No. These are states of the mind, mental states. So a particular vritti or feeling comes and say, I like that, I want that. And then the body and the senses move in that direction. But if the Ichcha is not there, you say, I'm not interested. Somebody says, hey, let's go to the movie. And you say, yeah, let's go. And then next thing you get up and go because you have the desire to see that. Or you might say, I'm not interested. And so you don't move, you go, this type of thing. Dvesha is repulsion. It drives you away from there. Wherever you have the Ichcha, then the resultant is Sukha, happiness. And where the repulsion is, the result is Dukkha, sorrow. So Ichcha, Dvesha, Sukham, Dukkham. 4 of them have been covered. These are mental changes that happen, and the mind constantly is changing from one to the other, and that is sort of dragging the body in different directions according to the changes that are happening. Most of the time we are not aware of it, we just instinctively work. There are 3 categories of grades if you want to classify people or beings, so to say, not only people. Those who work instinctively, animals to them, people whose intelligence is not very developed. I'm hungry, so I eat. I'm tired, I sleep. I'm thirsty, I will drink. Just there's no thinking in there, just instinctively. Animals have that. Children also do that. There's no thinking. Then comes where the reasoning power has developed. So first is instinctive, second is the reasoning, where you think about it. What are the consequences? You plan, you execute in an organized way, you make some decisions. So a human being is superior to animals because man has got this power of reasoning. He can understand what is the cause and what are the consequences and makes decisions on that. If you remember, I had shared one video about that little monkey who had put his hand in a hole trying to grab something, and when he got hold of that, his hand became a fist, and he was trying to get it out because it had become round and big, it was not coming out. And so it was trying very hard, but it was not letting go whatever he was holding. As a result, he got caught in there. Now and so they showed a baboon going through that. Imagine a human child, just as baby is born, no training is given. And he puts his hand there and picks something, and he finds he's not able to pull his hand out. But you'll find that the child will very quickly figure out that if I let go, my hand will come out. So that is the difference because he is able to reason it. I'm holding this hand, now I can't. If I let go, it will come out. But that basic intelligence that we human beings have, power of reasoning and that intelligence, a baboon does not have. So he gets caught there. So that's why anyone who has got more of that buddhi manifested, he is more spiritually advanced, or whether that means he's closer to the source. So there's those people who have got a very strong sense of power of reason and understanding. They are called, in whom this buddhi is awakened, they're called the dhira, and the intelligent one. And they are the ones who rule everywhere. Those who don't, among human beings who just simply mechanically work, turn up to work, they are like the animals. They're not thinking mechanically, they do. The ones who sit in the office management, who make the big decisions, they are the ones who actually control them and use them and exploit them also sometimes. Because wherever there's lower manifestation of intelligence, you fall victim to those who have more. So Ichcha des, Sukham Dukkham, Sanghata. Sanghata means aggregate. Aggregate of the body and organs. So these are the 5 organs of action. Karmendriyas, and 5 organs of knowledge, Jnanendriyas. They all come together. See, they're beautifully blended it and they're working together. So, what you like, see your hands go out, is all very nicely coordinated. There is a philosophy teaching, just as a side reference to it. It's called a scripture that we study in the training center, and it says there's a sutra, it's a Sanghata Parartatve. Wherever there is an aggregate of something, whatever we bring together, it is for the benefit and the enjoyment of some entity other than that, other than the aggregate. Okay, that means somebody is going to use it. So, for example, a building is a Sanghata. You bring the various building materials, you bring the skill of the builder, you and the tools and everything, and you construct a building. But who's going to enjoy it? Well, not the builder, but the owner, somebody else will come and he will use that. So this body is a Sanghata of this physical matter, the senses, the various systems there that is looking. But it is for the enjoyment and use of somebody who dwells in it, the indweller, which is the Purusha. Sanghata Parartatve. So you'll find in life everywhere, there are people who put so much effort in building something. It could be a business. The father works so hard and the son comes and enjoys. Okay. Or somebody cooks a nice meal. You go to a restaurant, there's a cook working very hard there. Who is going to enjoy it? Or somebody who has ordered it. Or somebody in a factory in China has put together the phone. But here in Australia, New Zealand, somebody is using that. Somebody stitches some clothes. Another person is going to use it. That is the law of nature. And you see that sometimes people say, I worked so hard and I didn't get the benefit of it. No, the law says that if you are the one who brings things together, most probably you will not use it. It is always for the benefit and the enjoyment of somebody else. Sanghata Parartatve. Parar means somebody else. Anyway, I thought I'll just mention that, but you'll find that if you observe around, it is there all the time. Chetana. Chetana means Chetan is there, and that is the principle of sentience. So something is sentient means there is a manifestation of consciousness and life in it. So if you say a piece of stone is acheta, it means of course the Purusha is there, the consciousness is there, but its manifestation is very, very low, that the stone is not moving. It is lying down there, it's unchanging. And then that sentience becomes a little bit more in a amoeba or something like that, in a worm, an insect, and as it keeps on growing, as the forms keep on evolving, the inner consciousness manifests more and more and more. So evolution really means changes on the form by which the inherent, innate consciousness manifests more and more and more. Chetana is sentience, a state of the internal organ manifest in that aggregate like fire in a heated lump of iron, and pervaded by the essence in the form of the semblance of consciousness of the self in it. So basically, this example of a piece of iron that has been heated is used very often in the Vedanta philosophy. So if somebody has heated a piece of iron and leaves it there, you pick it up and your hand gets burnt. Now the question is, what burned your hand? Did the matter of that iron heat your hand, or the heat that was contained in that iron that was the cause of burning? So that heat here is the Chetana part of it. Okay, so this body, is going around doing various things. It's playing football and moving around and things. But in itself, it is insentient. Why? You look at the dead body. It's lying down there, absolutely no sign of life, no movement. So that is the true nature of the body. But in a living person, okay, you see, everything is happening around, walking, talking, playing there. And you say, who's doing it? That doership, or that is possible because of the Chetana part of it. And where does that Chetana come from? Its source is from the consciousness. So that is also there. Dhriti means fortitude. Fortitude means you persevere in something. Those people who do not have dhriti, and they start something, as soon as a little bit of problem comes, they abandon that and go somewhere else. that is also a mental state, a state where you have the tenacity. In this, our Dhrit is a very good quality in spiritual practice. So some people meditate a little bit and then nothing happens, or mind is running here and there, and they give it a kuchne or a hai type of thing. And those who have that fortitude, they will stick onto it with great perseverance and patience and all that. And they are the ones who can then hew their way through all this, overcome all the limitations and discover that wonderful within. So, reality within. So, etat, this field, savikaram, sa means together with, vikaram means modification, changes. Samasena, udahritam, has been spoken of. So, ichha, dvesha, sukham, dukkham, sanghata, chetana, dhriti, etat kshetram samasena, savikaram, udahritam. This, together with what has been described in the previous 13.5, Sri Krishna says, in very brief, I have talked to you what is the Kshetra. So, desire, repulsion, happiness, sorrow in the mind state. The aggregate of the body and organs. Sentience is also at the upper level. Fortitude is another quality of the mind. And this field, together with these modifications, has been spoken of briefly. Then he talks about some special qualities, okay, that are necessary for the revelation of the knowledge. So he's not jumping immediately from Kshetra to Kshetrajna. Okay, the qualities of the Nava, Kshetrajna, will be narrated in verse 12. So we did verse 6. So instead of jumping from 6, say we've done the Kshetra, now we'll do the Kshetrajna, he says, hold on, I'll tell you a little bit about what is knowledge that will help you separate this entity called Kshetra from the Kshetrajna. So verses 7 to 11, we'll talk about qualities which he calls knowledge, but really those are the spiritual practices which will lead to the knowledge. The qualities of the Nava will be described in the narrated in verse 12. But for the present, the Lord enjoins a group of disciplines. So here we say, hey, the knowledge part is they will start practicing this, which will lead to the knowledge of the self. Okay, the knowledge is there. He will give some description. He says you have some mental conception, but that doesn't mean you become enlightened. It's just some ideas. And really, sincere person says, that you can tell me and I can try to study intellectually, but that's not true knowledge. Tell me that by which I can experience that self. So Shri Krishna says, okay, I'll tell you that straight away here first. And that's why these are the disciplines that will lead one to the knowledge of the self. The group, what are they? Humility, etc., are referred to by the word knowledge, since they lead to the knowledge, owing to the existence of which one becomes competent for the realization of that knowledge. So the knowledge is there already, but we are not adhikari for it. That means we haven't equipped ourselves with those faculties, haven't purified our heart, purified our mind, haven't turned our mind away from the material world, let that sensitivity, discrimination, and our behavior and things are not spiritually directed. All those things are things that are called ignorance, because it keeps us binding to this world. So Sri Krishna says, okay, I'll tell you the set of disciplines that need to start practicing them. And then later on, when I talk about the state of the Kshetrajna, the knowledge of the field, you'll know that these disciplines will lead you there. Okay, how are we doing for time? Okay, I think today we have reached our time, and we have covered up to verse 6. So first category, Kshetra, we have discussed in detail. From verse 7 to 11, we will discuss Jnana, then we'll discuss Kshetrajna. So these are the sub-themes of this chapter. Put them all together, put the drawings. Hopefully in the next class, I will get this iPad ready so I can start scribbling something new for you to share how I have envisaged this knowledge can be captured in some diagrammatic representation. We'll offer this knowledge that we have been studying here to Sri Ramakrishna. Om Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Sri Ramakrishna Arpanastu.